Hey, welcome back to my channel where I'm building a RANS S21 plane. A couple pre-video comments. You know, when I moved to the hangar, which is about a 50-minute drive from the house, the drive back and forth is kind of a pain, and not being able to just walk in the garage and work on it. But you know, one of the advantages, there's a couple builders that I have as neighbors, and a couple A&P guys that swing by and pop in every so often. And it's real nice having that expertise and knowledge to bounce things off of and get opinions on things. So that's actually been a nice feature of the hangar. Plus you get to see a lot of cool planes coming and going during the day, so that's always good. On a sadder note, I heard that we lost one of our S21 builders on his flight back from Oshkosh. Apparently he was flying a Zenith aircraft with a Viking engine and went down on his way back. They found the plane at the bottom of a small lake, and he did not survive. So it's always tragic when we lose someone from the industry. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. In this episode, I attach the flaps and do the rigging, and then I also fabricate and attach the vertical stabilizer tip and get that done. And I don't think this one is going to include attaching the vertical stabilizer. I think I'll start the next episode with that. So with that, let's jump in. I'm attaching the flaps, and they go on fairly simply. A couple notes I made in trying to look and see how this is done is you've got a bushing both in the flap bracket and the bracket coming out of the wing, and apparently they go bushing to bushing in here. So you got to determine which side you're going to put the flap on. So it's bushing to bushing, and then you've got washers on the outside. With this connection to the push-pull, you've got two washers inside of here, and then this tube, in order to get this flush so that it was all the way up, it's flush, this tube was pretty much screwed into both ends of these attachments. Otherwise the flap didn't go all the way up. So I had to take it off, re-screw it, and now as it goes all the way in, it's flush on the bottom, flush on the top. The other thing I had to do is this this nut appears to be a little long, but it's got about the right number of threads. So I had to file just a little bit here so that it didn't make any connection. Now there's no touch. And other than that, it's just 4 attachment points, making sure you've got them going the wrong way. It does show the nuts on the root side. Whoops, the nuts on the root side of the attachment. Not sure if it makes a difference, but that's what the diagram shows. And those are on. Okay, I'm working on the flap cable, Telflex cable. I've got it routed from the wing through the large, down through the notch here, and then it kind of loops around in here, and I have to figure to secure it. I'm going to have to secure it up here somehow, but I'll get that in a minute. That gets it away from the cables on the ground. Then it comes through, it goes through these small welded loops here. And then in here is where I was trying to figure out what happens, but you've got a couple little loop supports in here. And then it's going to go up and attach with the rod ends on the end. So I think that's the way we run it. But this is going to have to get kind of taken apart in order to get it around these cables. So I'm going to work on that. RANS gives you a flap lever installation diagram, but it gets very uncertain about where these cables run and how they go through here. It's not shown that they go through here, but they do. And there's nothing in the text, so you're really you're on your own to do some research and figure out how they go together. I struggled trying to figure out how to get this bushing in. I ended up taking 2 pairs of vice grips and clamping down these ends. That opened up the space just enough to get them, using some hemostats to get this bushing over that bolt, and I'll push it through. But that took me a while to try and figure out how to get that in. Okay, so I've got these set, and if you notice, these are turned all the way in, so there are about 13 turns, but they won't go any further. And the reason I'm saying that is on the adjustment part up here, if I have this here, I need this this piece a little bit shorter, and that's only done by turning in this adjustment. The other problem I've got is let's see if I can do this. The other problem I've got is this is making contact with that bell crank. So it seems like I'm gonna have to lengthen this and push that bell crank back just a little bit to get this fit. So there is some adjustment to be done. So we'll see if we can get that done. Okay, flaps are rigged and set. These guys are tightened in with all the appropriate washers. This guy's locked in here. I've gone through the routing before. Up here, I did have to cut off a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch here and an 1/8 of an inch at the flap handle area to get the 1/4 inch that I needed. Now this is set. There's a little gap here so it's not touching, and that's set from the push-pull rod. So everything's set and tightened down. I think I'm good on flaps. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. I did measure my my flap degrees, flap notches. So I go 10, 21.2, 33, 44.5. That's within the plus or minus 2 of the 45 to 50. So at max flaps, I've got 44. I probably won't use that much. Well, maybe in some short field, but typically I don't use more than 30 degrees of flaps in anything that I fly. So that's flap rigging, and I think it's done. So the next thing I'm going to work on is the vertical stabilizer tip. And like the other tips, the RANS provides you a molded plastic tip part, and then you've got on the top of your vertical stabilizer, you've got an attachment point. They said make sure your distance here is at least 0.050 to 0.1 inches wide. If it's not wide enough, you flute near the aft spar, and that will bring, if you flute, that'll bring this up if you need more room. And the next thing is to trim the tip along the line indicated on the mold. It looks like the first step is to trim along. It's got a mark line where it's going to lay flat. I'm not sure what this little notch is. It doesn't fit on my vertical tip. So what I've seen is people just cutting along this line all the way straight. So that's going to be my first cut. I like to tape the lines because they're so hard to see when you're running the drill or the Dremel down exactly where the crease is. So by putting a piece of tape down, I make a pretty straight line. It makes it much easier to cut. Okay, I'm trial fitting the tip. This part pushes down. You can see it goes all the way down. I've got to go just a little bit further forward. But then coming back, you've got that tip rib spar up here. And right now, the tip comes all the way down to the rudder. So if you can see, if I lift this up, there's the rib under here, and that's like 1/4 of an inch higher than the rudder. So I'm going to lay this back down, I'm going to measure, and I'm going to trim after this piece so it will come to the bottom of this rib, but not down to the rudder. So this part needs to get trimmed some more. And it says a little at a time, just keep taking it off, trial fitting, and trimming it until it fits. Because you fluted this tip rib a little to have it clear the rudder and create a little gap here, it goes up just a little bit at the back. So to customize it, you got to trim kind of up, and it's just a little at a time, but it does kind of scoop up a little bit in the back. Okay, that final trim worked. As you can see, the tip is up, it's down flush with that spar. And then along the trailing part, you can just see the under edge of that spar here. So that'll get riveted, and that gives me a little bit of clearance with the rudder and the tip. So I like that. So now I got to find the holes here and rivet, or cleco first, drill, and then rivet. So the manual says here to use a hole finder to locate and drill the holes in the aft section of the tip. But there are no holes in that rib underneath here, so it's just solid. So I think I'm just gonna match drill a few cleco holes, number 30 holes along here, and put my clecos and rivets in. I don't see where I would use a hole finder. There's no holes. So I'm probably missing something, but it seems pretty obvious that I need to attach this, so I'm going to drill it and rivet it. Because the wingtip is going to be on the inside here, the rivets are going to come through and be pulled back onto the plastic wingtip. So for that, the manual has you super glue in small, where are they? Small washers. You're going to super glue the front 10, 5 on each side. The front 10 holes are going to have a small washer super glued on the back. So when you put the rivet in, it's holding on to the washer rather than onto that plastic. So my super glue was all dried up, so I used a little bit of JB Weld, and then I used a little thing, and I made little dots around each hole with the JB Weld and just put the washers on. So that should work. JB Weld seems to hold just about anything. So we got 5 on each side, and we'll let those dry and come back tomorrow. We got the hanger is at 88 degrees, and that's enough for me for today. Oh, I should have remembered this from the other tips that I did, and I forgot. The problem is these rivets, they call for the Cherry PQ 42s, and the 42s are just a little bit big to fit through these washers. So once again, I got to drill them. But if you just drill them without holding on to them, the rivets, the washers pop off. See, I'm using a pair of vice grips to kind of hold them and then drill through the other side. What a pain in the neck. So make sure that you drill out your washers to a 30 before you glue them on. The final step is to rivet in the tip. Here you're going through the washers on the other side of the plastic. Here you're going through the tip rib, so you've got aluminum on the back of these rivets, and they just go in and your tip is done. Oh, they say check your clearance, move your rudder full deflection both ways and make sure you have clearance on both sides to confirm that you want to do that actually once clecoed before you rivet. But that's it, that's the tip. Well, that knocks off a couple more items. That section took 15.0 hours. And that brings my build time to date to 1604.8 hours. Those are build hours, not research hours. In the next episode, I'm going to attach the vertical stabilizer. What else am I going to do? Set the rudder cable tensions, set the control surface deflections, and possibly get started on the cabin cleanup, wiring, running the wires and the hoses from the wing and getting that whole cockpit area cleaned up. So with that, thanks a lot for watching, and remember, dream it, just build it.